Ladies and gentlemen, residents of Boroondara and other constituencies. My name is Mark Cubitt and I am the very proud chair today of the Electrified Boroondara Alliance. This expo is the outcome of nearly a year's tireless efforts by over 80 volunteers, supported by Boroondara Council and our local, state and federal representatives from right across the political spectrum. We are an apolitical group and that does deserve a round of applause. To start proceedings though, let me state that the Electrified Boroondara Expo is being held on the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. I'd also like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and Aboriginal elders and their communities who may be here today. This weekend is a really important one for those of us here today. We've worked on this expo for all of this calendar year. To be fair, it does pale into comparison to what this nation must decide next weekend, so in that sense, some perspective's important. Personally, I hope that next week's outcome is a meaningful turning point for the future of our nation. Thank you. Now, briefly to the day ahead of us. Firstly, who are Electrified Boroondara? We're a community-led alliance dedicated to accelerating the transition to a clean energy future. Community-led means we're independent, we are very much volunteer-powered, and we're not political. Besides being passionate individuals, the alliance includes service organisations like Rotary, local churches, schools, universities, climate and environment groups, and industry partners. Together with the support from the City of Boroondara and local elected representatives, we're educating and informing you, the community, about energy efficiency and electrification so that you can save money, you can improve your health and comfort, and we can all create a safer environment. We do this by providing information, events and initiatives, and what an event this will be today, to help people electrify their homes, business and transport. And let's get down to why we are here today. Firstly, because we acknowledge that the science that climate change is real and an existential threat to our livelihoods and indeed our lives. Secondly, because Australian households are the biggest source of domestic emissions. We can bash the big corporates, but according to Saul Griffith, and you should all be in the room next door at 12:30 today to hear Saul talk, according to Saul, we can reduce emissions by 42% if we make the right decisions in our households. Remember that 42% of the adjustment needed is in your hands. Thirdly, we're here because our council, Boroondara Council, since 2021, in its climate action plans, has been working to electrify its activities and reduce its reliance on other sources of energy. We are here today in a town hall, former town hall I should say, that is powered by renewable energy. We felt that we could assist council in educating the community on how the community too can participate in that journey. Today we've got over 700 registered participants and we're expecting a lot of walk-ins. We actually think this makes it one of the largest events that we have seen in Boroondara for quite some time. There's over 40 speakers, 8 expert panels, 48 stalls, you can see them here in this room, induction cooktop demonstrations, an electric racing car, an EV showcase outside with lots of electric vehicles, tons of family-friendly activities. If I went through the whole list, you'd be listening to me for another hour. So I want to thank each and every one of you stall holders, our speakers through the day, presenters and the volunteers for giving up your Sunday for this important cause. Events like this don't come for free. They're firstly powered by thousands of hours of volunteer time. We're more than grateful for the support of Boroondara Council for the free use of this substantial venue today. We also thank our major sponsor, RACV Solar, and other sponsors, City Power and K and Burton. There's also an amazing range of donated door prizes. If you haven't registered already for them, make sure you do that through the course of the day. Now on to our first panel for the day, where we get to hear from our elected representatives from right across the political spectrum. We've gone neatly in alphabetical order, but we've got Matt Freegan, the state member for Ashwood. We've got John Pasuto, who of course is the leader of the Liberal Party in the state of Victoria, Monique Ryan, the member for Kooyong, and Jess Wilson, the member for Kew. Firstly, if you could give them all a round of applause, please. So I'm just going to lead off a few questions for the panel, and I'm going to start with you, Matt. Why are you here today? Why are you here in support of Electrify Boroondara?
I think we have to... That'll help.
You don't need a microphone.
I can probably live without it, but it's probably better to do it. Now, how do I turn it on? There we go. Good morning. I think as much as climate change policy is a measure of government's success or otherwise, I think as you sort of comment on what Saul has said himself, at the end of the day, it is up to us to make that change as members of our society. And to have a group of, a grassroots citizens group to help push that agenda, I think will help us all as a community in Boroondara to get closer to the end goal of removing fossil fuels from our energy sector.
Great, thank you. John?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And to everybody involved, the steering committee of Electrify Boroondara, the council, all of the sponsors and partners you mentioned, can I congratulate all of you? This is a really important initiative. I'm here particularly because I'm a local member, but also I just wanted to stress as a political leader who's vying for office, as you'll appreciate, one of the things I'm really keen to do is see the debate move to the phase of solutions, which I know you've been committed to for a long time. For me, the political debates over sustainability were dealt with long ago. We have to think about what we bequeath to future generations. So when I come to events like this, and I go to a lot around the state, I'm very interested in that because in order to meet the challenges we face, we have to find ways to do what you're thinking about, the ideas, the innovation, and bring them to scale, make them affordable and accessible. And when you deal with the equity issues across a large area, like a large community like Victoria's, you're thinking constantly about there are some areas where access to the innovation is more readily available, but in other areas where there may be, for instance, disadvantage or lower levels of income capacity, you've got to think about how you can get the costs down so you can spread it as far and as widely as possible, because that's the goal you want to get to. So for me, it's a great privilege to be here today and a great opportunity to talk to many of you about the solutions you're developing.
Great, thank you. And I'm just going to pick up on a point that John has made there today. Relatively speaking, we're in a very fortunate part of Australia in Boroondara, but we definitely want to work on sorting out what that solution is on landlords and renters. And if you are a landlord or a renter, there is a booth up in the back there that you should definitely be visiting today, because we do want to do some pilot studies to try and work out what that solution is. Yeah. Monique.
Thanks, Mark. And firstly, let me also acknowledge the fact that we are today on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and this land was never ceded to us. And that I think that all of us benefit from having a voice to our politicians and a voice to our polity, and I hope that we will give that to the First Nations people of this country next weekend. Not political, though. I'm here because I was elected last year because I think many people in this country have felt helpless and distressed about climate change. There's no doubt that it's real. Those arguments, as John said, are done. What we need to do now is to take action, and it's a wicked problem. And each of us can make some difference in our own spheres, our own small spheres, but we can have a much greater difference if we act together. And I think that's the power of the community. I'd like to congratulate all of the people who've put thousands and thousands of hours of work into this today. It's going to be amazing, and I'd like to thank all of the members of my team John and Matt and Jess's teams who have contributed to this, but mainly the many volunteers like yourself, Philippa, Sophie, I can't name everyone, but all the many people have put thousands of hours of work into this, because it's going to be really powerful, and thank you for that. What we realise, if you look at things like housing affordability or housing availability or the cost of power, the cost of electricity, many of the really significant challenges that we're dealing with right now, is that they are multi-level. So there's things that we can do at a council level, and I know that the council is trying to engage with that as best they can. So there's things that the state government can do, and there's levers that they can pull that can improve things in the short, medium and long term, and the same at the federal level. But all of those things will work with greater power and more effectiveness if we do them together. And I feel very strongly that Australians are sick of partisan politics. They're sick of people arguing about things, and they want us all to work together and to work with people in our communities to achieve effect. That's what we're trying to do today. That we need to help the people. Rising tides raise all boats. We need to help those people who are going to struggle to pay for these things themselves. We need to find ways to do that at a government level, but we also need to each do what we can in our own sphere. And I thank all of you for coming today and doing your best to do that.
If I could, just following on from Monique's comments as well, one point you should all be aware of, that other similar groups for Electrify Boroondara around Australia are envious about us, is that we do have support right across the political spectrum. In some corners of Australia, people are still fighting the old culture wars. So I'd commend everyone who's here today for the support that they have given us. Thank you. Jess Wilson.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, and can I too add my congratulations to the Electrify Boroondara team. You can just see how much work has gone into pulling today together, and just looking around the room and the exhibitions also outside, there's just a wealth of knowledge in the room today that the community is going to be able to rely on to look at what they can do to electrify and to help reduce their own carbon footprint. And welcome to Lisa Hollingsworth, who's just joined us on stage.
Welcome, Lisa, for Boroondara Council.
And to Boroondara Council to help support this initiative and to provide the town hall here today. I think most of the panellists have made the point that we're all on stage together today because we've moved past the debate in many ways around climate change, and now we're all looking to unite around how we can find solutions. And governments have a big role to play when it comes to generation, and we've seen Australia's energy market transform over recent years. We've seen the number of utility scale renewables over the past decade or so increase by a factor of nearly 40, and that is set to double again by 2030. But what I've always been a big advocate of is how do we make sure that we have government, industry and community buy-in to the process? And that community buy-in is not going to be possible without understanding the solutions to the problem and understanding how, as individuals, we might be able to contribute our own little part. And welcome to Felicity Sinfield on stage. So today we'll allow locals of Boroondara, and I'm sure there'll be many people who come in from outside Boroondara as well, to have a look at what are options in their own households to reduce their carbon footprint and to make that difference and how they can contribute themselves. And so it is really a partnership, and something that I know that we're all focused on is how does government work with industry, work with the community on this journey to net zero emissions, which is going to take a huge transformation of our economy, a huge transformation of our energy sector globally, but it still means we can do something very, very local, and congratulations to everyone today for making that possible.
Thank you. Mayor Sinfield, welcome.
Good morning, thank
I
you.
reckon you got stuck looking at the EVs outside, and I wouldn't blame you for that.
Well,
welcome.
I would like to say yes. I was actually making a cake for the kids' school fete this morning, which needed the extra couple of minutes in the oven, so I apologise. But, you know, kids and family does have to come first sometimes.
Not a problem, we'll forgive you for that. Just to wonder if I could ask you, why are you here today? Why are you here in support of Electrify Boroondara?
Civic leadership is really important in this space, and the City of Boroondara for a long time, before my time in 2016 when I joined council, has a really important role to play, and we have been taking those steps not just for our own buildings and our own backyard, if you like, but trying to lead the community on this journey as well.
Great, thank you. Next question, we're going to delve into your personal lives here, so we're going to get down and, we're not going to say get down and get dirty, but I've just said it. I want to ask about where you are at home with your electrification journey. And firstly, I'm going to tell you about where I'm at. And my wife and I, we moved into a new build last year, and we have only electric heating and cooling in our new apartment, and our energy bills are half what they were in our previous house. I think that's one, because it's electricity, but secondly, as a new build, it's a really sealed apartment, no cold air getting in winter. So you could give us kudos for that, but we actually also screwed up and we didn't get an induction cooktop in the build, which, so I'm not here to say that I'm an environmental warrior who's ticked every box. We're also still driving petrol-powered cars. We've got 2 cars. We need to reduce that to 1, and we need to be looking at the EVs, perhaps outside here today. So we're only very much partway through our journey, and frustrating to me is why we didn't, in our last house, get some experts in to really look at where we were losing all the heat in winter out of that house. Matt, I think you're on a panel later today talking in detail about what you've been doing this year outside of your role as a Member of Parliament, but I wonder if you'd briefly touch on that for us.
Sure. So we've got a 1960s house in Mount Waverley, and it had gas ducted heating when we moved in. Last couple of years it's been on the blink, and we were just throwing money at it each year to try and keep it going. I think when I got the nice letter from our energy company in January to tell me the gas was going up by 30%, I got a bit grumpy. So we looked around for replacing it. Now, if we'd replaced our system with a gas system, it would have probably cost us somewhere between $5,000 to $7,000 to buy a new system, get it all installed, yada, yada, yada. So we talked to a couple of companies. I won't go into too much detail because we'll talk about it later, but essentially we replaced the whole gas ducted system with a heat pump system under the floor, which will do heating and cooling. And in short, whereas our gas bill during winter used to be about $450 a month, thanks to 3 kids who like cranking it up in the morning, the difference in our electricity bill is about $150.
Wow, that's quite significant.
Yeah. It'll pay for itself in about 8 to 10 years, and then it's just money for nothing.
Great. So we can hear more about that in your panel later on in the morning.
Go through all the weeds.
Yeah, beautiful thing. John?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. We're on the journey. We've made a start. So we've got 3 kids too. We spent many years saving up for a major renovation upstairs, so that's all now electric, but we've got a lot of work to do downstairs. We've got the ducted gas, which we desperately want to get off because it is starting to cost a lot of money. So there's financial incentives to do it as well. We have a hybrid car and a petrol one, which we do want to turn over for an EV once we're in a position to do so. But we're on that journey, and it's important to do that.
Sounds like you're probably ahead of me with the cars. Yeah. Monique?
Yeah, also on the journey, also have 3 children. Patterns emerging here. So, I mean, it's hard. Let's face it, I don't want to cry poor, but, it's not cheap to make this transition. So we've done some of it. We've done the solar, we've done the battery. We've got 2 cars, but one doesn't get driven pretty much. My husband goes to work on an e-bike, and I try not to drive as much as possible. I'm hoping to get a electric combi van when they become available. That's what I'm hanging out for. But my husband will be here later today, and we're looking at, we've got to replace the heating, got to replace the cooktop, and try and find a way that's, reasonably affordable. And, because for most people, let's face it, these things are not investments. It's an investment, but it's not one that you can make lightly. It's not an easy decision to make because there is a significant outlay, and that's where government comes in with helping people offset these costs or pay for them over time or make them more affordable. I think that's a really important thing for government to take on.
And I think the point to make, if I can just ride off the back of that, is not everything is economically making sense today, but it's coming over the horizon. It is getting cheaper. So this is the time where if you can't afford it, you do the work, you do the research to find out what you will be doing in the next few years. Yeah. Jess?
Thanks, Mark, and I agree, sort of on the journey, a start of a journey. We first bought a place which was an apartment, and it was a new apartment, and we then got our forever home, as they call them, I suppose, which is a more traditional period cottage.
Oh.
And the difference between the two is quite stark when it comes to the insulation in particular. And you really do notice that in both your electricity and your gas bills. No kids, but do have a dog that loves to sit on top of the ducted heating. And if she could crank it up, she would. So certainly looking at how we can, as we look to renovate, much like John, and save to renovate over time our period home, we can do that. We have 2 cars, but my husband in particular takes public transport every day to work. And I think going forward, we'll probably reassess the need for 2 cars and look at more whether that public transport option, particularly in this area, we are very, very lucky, is a sort of a better option going forward. But I'd agree. I think consistency when it comes to government incentives and rebates in this space could be really help with that sort of financial decision when it comes to choosing to electrify and that economic imperative. We're looking at our gas bills, we're looking at our electricity bills, and we're thinking, oh, what can I do here? But sometimes the outlay is just a little bit difficult to pull together, especially at the moment when everything's costing a little bit more. So how do we make sure that government plays a role in that sort of broader rebate system, and there's consistency across the board in that?
Gotcha. Felicity?
Thanks, Mark. I'm blessed with 3-phase solar at home.
Oh!
So while I would like to take credit for that, I'll thank the previous owners. But we love that, and the pool now has an electric heat pump on it, which is a very new addition. So we're still getting used to that as we head into summer. At home, we drive. We've got a couple of cars, and I'm blessed with a hybrid, which I'm loving. The Toyota RAV4 is so much fun. It's a great car. So that's my first soiree into a non-petrol or non-diesel vehicle, which is fantastic. But I must say, as I get on the bus at Harp Junction, I nearly vomit at the fumes and the grossness coming out of the diesel buses, and encourage the state government to transition that fleet as soon as we can. But we are blessed that kids walk to school, and we're blessed with public transport around Boroondara. So I think for us, the journey, is very much an ongoing one, and I don't think anyone will reach a point where, in the foreseeable future or in our lifetimes, where we've completed that journey. It's an ongoing, incremental thing, and each year we strive to do better.
Wonderful. I still think you've gone to the top of the class here with that effort. Thank you very much. Okay, wonderful. Well. There you have it. You can see what our political representatives are thinking about as far as policies and where, as a state and a nation, we should head. You've heard where they're at in their journey, and it's just a reminder to all of us that it is a journey. This is by no means the end of the day for us. There are a lot of presentations on here today, and I'm firstly just going to do a shout out for the next event that's starting at 10:45 in the Chandelier Room, getting started on your electrification journey, which is what we've touched on here today. A panel of experts providing actionable insights and first-hand accounts on embarking on your electrification journey. They're going to cover things like energy efficient appliances, the potential of solar energy and batteries, which some of us have today. I think all of us will have at some stage in the future. Just to a few other highlights around the venue today. Victoria's first all-electric police highway patrol car. It's pretty good when you get your security for free because the police force have a all-electric vehicle. There's an electric racing car and simulator. There is the EVs all out there to the side of the centre. Go for a test ride on e-bikes, but be careful of pedestrians while you do that, please. There's induction cooktop demonstrations. They will have, I'm told, strawberries dipped in chocolate melted. So Yeah, I can see people rushing out the door ready to queue up for that. I mentioned the door prizes. There's family activities. Thank you again to RACV Solar, to City Power and Kay and Burton. And if you could put your hands together one more time for our panel here today.